What's up, everybody? This is Joe Adams. Welcome to the Relentless Pursuit podcast. We are now recording this is episode number 12. Yes. And we have our boy, well, I would say my new friend or old, I don't know how to place it, but we didn't get to start knowing each other till very recently. Yeah. So I would say we've known each other for a long time. We have our special guest, Charles Rucker.
What's up?
He's the man, owner of Ruck Nutrition. He's also a bodybuilder. And just does all that good stuff. He's doing a lot of killer shit. So go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Man, I appreciate y'all having me. But yeah, I own Ruck Nutrition. It's a supplement company. Started about 5 years ago. And I've been competing for the last 9 years. Played football before that. But yeah, man, life's good.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Well, so I want to get into it, man. You have a lot going on. I see you all over the place. Like I said, we've known each other for years.
For real.
But mostly in passing. We never hung out, and I think we hung out. We had dinner for the first time last night. Yeah. I was like, man, Ruck and I have a lot in common.
That's what I was telling Coda. I was like, dude, I didn't realize how much we have a lot in common.
It is.
And we're so much alike. Yeah. I didn't even realize that.
It's pretty cool. I was telling Lydia, as soon as we got in the truck last night, I was like, man, me and him have a lot in common. She's like, y'all do. It's crazy. But it's pretty fucking rad. So it's just wild. You have these interactions with people for years, and you really don't know.
You don't have a clue.
The kind of connection you have with them until you actually do, and you're like, holy shit, man, why didn't we get to know each other?
A long time ago.
Yeah, exactly, man. So it's really cool. It's been good getting to know you, and I'm stoked to have you on here more and more and more.
Absolutely, man.
We've got some good content coming with him for sure, so definitely check him out. But so I really want to know.
As usual, we've been here for about an hour. Talking.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing because you have to like ramp back down for a second.
Yeah. And, I was about to say that's how we were last night.
Hey Charles, nice to it's like, dude, we've been sitting here bullshitting for an hour, but
yeah. Well, so I know you had a gnarly car wreck a while back. So real quick, is that what led to Ruck? What led?
Nah, so the car wreck happened.
Tell us about that, man. Tell us a little bit. Just tell us your life story a little bit. Tell us about your upbringing, the car wreck, all that shit, man.
All right, so I grew up in a small town, Morristown, East Tennessee.
Okay. Close to Memphis or something.
It's like outside Knoxville.
Wait, east.
Yeah.
Something. I'm going the other direction.
Yeah, it's outside Knoxville. About 30 minutes outside Knoxville. So single mom. She raised me. My mom's actually been dealing with mental health issues my whole life. So, that's one reason why I'm big on mental health now is because I've seen her go through it literally my whole life. And so the area I grew up in at the time was, really, drug infested, gang infested. And so my outlet was sports. So I played football. And I knew for me to get out of my hometown and, try to, do something, I was going to have to get a scholarship. We didn't have money for me to go to school or anything like that. So I was really focused on football. And so I ended up going to Cumberland U in Kentucky. I was originally was going to go to Georgia, didn't pass my ACT score. So goes to go to Cumberland U. And
I hate tests.
Dude, they're the worst, especially that test. Like, it's crazy because, when you're good in football, nobody talks to you about that test until...
See, I didn't take the ACT. In North Carolina, we took the SAT.
I got you.
But I don't really know what the fucking difference is.
It sucks.
We talked about this on another one.
Yeah.
I think in Tennessee you have an option. I'm pretty sure.
I think you do have an option.
I think you can take one or the other.
It didn't matter. I was about to say...
By the time they told me by
the time they told me it was too late.
Will you pull just a little closer?
Yeah, I was say by the time they told me it was too late anyway. So and then trying to have us in tutors and stuff. I'm like, yo, we're seniors now. Like y'all should have been working on this.
A little bit late.
Yeah, a little bit late. So I ended up going to Cumberland U, and that was a game plan to go there for a year and then transfer out. Yeah. And then my freshman year, it was one night after practice because we were in practice, and I hadn't got a chance to go home, so I hadn't had a chance to go check on my mom or anything like that. Yeah. And so one night after practice, me and one of my boys was like, you know what, I'm just going to head home because Cumberland U was in Kentucky. It's only a couple hours away from where I live. Yeah. So I was going to shoot home for the weekend, come back. So it was late. It was thundering, raining, and I probably shouldn't have got on the road. But I was like, man, fuck, I'm going to do it anyway. Mm-hmm. And so I got on the road, hit a tractor trailer head on. Threw us both out the car. They life flighted us to Knoxville. And basically for a year and a half.
I know how them life flights go, man.
Yeah, right.
It's pretty gnarly shit.
First class, baby. So for a year and a half, I was in and out of the hospital. I had multiple surgeries on my face. I broke my jaw, broke my teeth.
Fuck.
I had to learn how to talk, eat. Broke my hand. Like had multiple injuries and stuff like that. And so,
when was this? What year?
This was 2010.
Oh damn.
Yeah. So it was like one of those situations. Like, yo, I worked my ass off to get out of my hometown, and now my ass is back home, like in a bed where I can't even move or anything like that. And I was like, I went through it. I was depressed. You know, I didn't know what I was gonna do, and it was just one of those. It was just one of those things. Like, what you know, what do you do at this point?
Yeah.
And so,
and that sucks, man, because
it does.
You probably were so anxious and ready to get out of that town,
absolutely, dude,
and just start a new life, and then all of a sudden you're like,
right back,
fuck,
boom. And so, you know, like I said, I went through depression, and I didn't know what to do at that point, because at that point where I couldn't eat, I lost over 100 pounds, so I wasn't even in football shape or anything like that. And I had no motivation because at that point I lost my scholarship, so it's like, what do you do? So MTSU recruited me out of high school, and so that's when Stockstill first got here, and Coach Kersey was the running back coach. So he found out about my accident or whatever, and asked me if I wanted to play football again. I was like, of course.
That's cool.
And
You played running back?
Running back, yeah. So that's how I ended up here. Was they actually, you know, help me get up here.
So you ended up playing ball at MTSU.
So got to MTSU. The first year I went through the physical, and they wouldn't let me get on the field because of the car wreck. Because
brain damage.
well, yeah, they said the concussion was so long, so they thought it was a flight risk. So Dwayne Beasley, he's a trainer here. He works with a lot of NFL athletes or whatever.
Cool.
Somebody told him about my story, so he started training me. So he got me back in shape, got me in football shape or whatever. I ended up going to like the Atlanta Combine and ended up playing for the Nashville Storm after that. And so I ended up playing football again after that. And then that whole process was so long that, you know, we won a national championship with the Nashville Storm, and I was just wore out. I was like, yo, I'm
what is Nashville Storm? Is that like a semi-pro league? Or?
Yeah, so yeah, it is. So it was one of those things where I could either go play Canadian football or do that. And at this point, I was so towards the end of my career. I knew it because I was so just burnt out of the whole process of getting back on the field.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing was I just wanted to get back on the field because the doctor told me I was never going to get on the field again. I was like, no,
so you're going to prove them wrong.
Yeah. So I was like, no, fuck that. I'm going to get back on the field. Yeah. So, you know, getting back on the field, that was the goal at that point. And I just, man, it's just one of those things that I was just like, I felt like my body was just done with it. And being in Murfreesboro, that's when I first met Brandon. And I didn't know shit about bodybuilding.
Shout out to Brandon Curry.
Brandon Curry, baby.
Mr. O.
So I didn't know shit about bodybuilding. And, you know, me and Brandon was working out at the time. And so that's kind of what sparked the interest on the whole fitness industry. And so I kind of went into that after that, yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. It's crazy how, like, man, that's a wild road.
Dude, that was, yeah, I'm about to say, that right there was just a very long period of time. You know, even with the car wreck, it was one of those things, like, it's crazy, like, how you get in a car wreck, because I know you've been in your situation.
Yeah.
And, you know, me and Coda just got in a recent car wreck. And so, like, when you're in a car wreck like that, how much, like, everything just slows the fuck down. Mm-hmm. Like, almost slow motion, you know? And so, like, I remember losing control of the car. I remember the other football players screaming. You know, I can remember, like, details. Dude. You know, you just remember everything. And I even remember, like, because I knew it. I was like, yo, like, we're done. Like, we're on the interstate. Like, at this point, I'm in the median. And you could see the tractor trailer coming head first. So
did you hydroplane or something, or did you fall? Oh, okay.
So I hydroplaned, and then so when we flew into the median onto the oncoming traffic. So the tractor trailer,
and of all things, a fucking tractor trailer.
Out of all things. But what's so crazy is, like, where we was at, it was two cliffs. Yeah. So if we wouldn't hit the tractor trailer, it would have killed us instantly anyway. Damn. So, but, you know, seeing, you know, the tractor trailer coming, and like I said, everything in that moment slow motion. I was like, yo, this is it. Like, and all you hope is, like, yo, I just don't want this to hurt. Like, that's all I'm thinking is, like, yo, just don't let it hurt.
And it probably knocked you out immediately.
Immediately.
Yeah.
So next thing I woke up, I was on the side of the road, and I came to, and it was a lady above me. I remember that because she was like yelling for whoever. And I remember spitting out my teeth. And I was like, man, I fucked up. And then blacked out again. And then when I woke back up, I was in the helicopter. And I remember being in the helicopter because it was that moment was kind of cool too, because you can hear everything they're saying. And so they're like, his blood pressure's raising, like, we got to give him, like, and so.
Dude, it's such a surreal feeling. Like, I'm getting chills thinking about it because it just puts me back there.
Yeah. And so, like, at that moment, like, you can't talk, you can't really see a lot, but you kind of like tell yourself, like, yo, calm down, like, just, like, get it together. Everything's gonna work out. You're at least alive right now. Yeah. So,
and that's all you can think about. Is just staying the fuck alive.
I'm actually alive. So, like, just let this ride. And so, and then I blacked out again in the helicopter. So I woke up and I was in the hospital. So,
wow.
That was a crazy ride, man, for sure.
How was your friend?
So that's another story. Obviously, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there. He ended up breaking both his legs, and we ended up in a lawsuit after that, so I don't really talk to him anymore. Yeah. Damn.
That's shitty.
Yeah.
To go through such a crazy
experience,
and then for it to end like that.
Yeah, so I was in a $1 million lawsuit.
And like when it comes to money lawsuits, man, that can sour people's attitudes real bad. I mean,
absolutely.
I lost so money in my last split up. I lost so much money there. And people were like, why don't you like press charges or like do this? And I'm like, man, because it's just going to be this long, drawn-out thing for years that's going to just cause me more anger, more pain, and more turmoil.
It is.
Or I just take the fucking hit and I just move forward with my life, And
you take so much time trying to do all that.
Yeah, and then and it's all based around money. And like to me, yes, money allows freedom, allows opportunity, but at the end of the day, money's not the most important thing. And by doing that, I'd be putting money on a pedestal.
Yep.
And that's the last thing I ever want to fucking do, man.
Absolutely. Because tons and tons of people who are absolutely rich that are absolutely miserable. Money only solves money problems.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, that's all it solves.
What about the internal shit?
The internal shit. Like, if you lose, somebody close to you, money can't fix that. Like, money can't.
They're still gone.
Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Or if you're, terminally ill or something like that, it doesn't fix that either. Like, so, money only solves money problems. And so people think, like, you get a whole bunch of money, you're just gonna be happy all the time. That's not. You still got fucking life. You know what I'm saying? Life's still gonna throw stuff at you that money can't fix.
But people get so set on that goal and they get so obsessed with the monetary gain that they forget who they are. That's one thing I think about all the time is I put a lot of time and attention into like my spiritual growth and like my relationships and things that fulfill me on the inside. And I want this to obviously succeed. I want to make a lot of money off of this and everything. I mean, why the hell wouldn't I?
Exactly.
But at the same time, I constantly make sure I set aside the time and attention on those things, because if I make millions of fucking bucks down the road and that's gone, then that's all I got, man. And that's not going to do anything.
Absolutely.
If for one day everything just burns down, I lose it all.
Yeah,
I still got like that. I still got everything I gained there. Nobody can take those things.
Absolutely, especially like your relationships and like you said, personal growth. Yep. Growing as a person, man. I feel like that's the biggest thing. Is like, making sure mentally you're in a good spot. Because at the end of the day, like dealing and seeing like stuff from a mental health standpoint with my mom and even what I went through in 2020. Like, if that ain't good, nothing's good. Like, your relationship's not gonna be good, business is not gonna be good. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. If your mental health is not there, like, it doesn't matter. It affects everything.
Yeah.
So
it does.
And I mean, that's one thing money can't fix either.
Exactly.
So money only solves money problems.
Yep. But hey, wouldn't mind having more of it.
Yeah, I was about to say, not saying that's a bad thing by any means. I was about to say it's good having money.
But you got to have that balance, man.
You do. You got to have that balance.
One way that I've heard it put that I really like is that money solves all of like the small, trivial bullshit problems.
Yeah.
Like it kind of not, obviously you're still going to deal with things. At your headquarters, there's a light that's going to go off, and just because you can fix it doesn't mean it's not annoying, like whatever. But the point is you can fix it. Or
Yeah.
if a small, if your dog needs to go to the vet, if you don't have money for that, your life is very stressful. And,
or if you can't pay your bills. You
right.
know,
Yeah.
Right. So it's like a certain level of money is like, does cause happiness. Not doesn't cause happiness, but it takes
stress away.
Yeah, it takes
Yeah.
it takes that stuff away that when you don't have money, it's just a constant burden and a constant like tapping in your head. It's like, okay, remember you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. But if you have money, to a certain extent, again, at least everything has like a maximum value. I mean, a maximum level of benefit, and then it starts to become less beneficial. It's like the law of marginal value, right? So or marginal return. So like money is that way as well, but there's a lot of utility on the front side whenever you can provide for your family and provide for yourself. And independence. Sure. Independence is a huge thing with money.
Well, you don't want your kids born into debt. You know, you want to be able to provide for your family and like not worry about that. Like to me, yes, I'm going to be constantly trying to grow monetarily, but it's not that I want to just be rich, but I do want the freedom. I want my kids to be taken care of. I want to be able to have land for my family to thrive. I want, if Lydia and I want to go on a fucking trip, in a month for several weeks to wherever, I can get in. I go to get the flight tickets. I'm not like, oh my God, they're very. I just get the tickets I want to get, and we go. Like that would be fucking rad, man.
That's where you want to be.
But some people, that's not enough, man. They just want more, and then it consumes them.
That's the thing, not being satisfied. We talked about it. I think that's not being satisfied is a good thing in a lot of things in your life.
Exactly.
When it comes to money, I feel like making money and making more money is nothing wrong with that. Like you said, like even like my wife, like being able to go to trips and travel and not have to think about it, and then like even just time, like you know what I'm saying, like if you have money, then you're not really on like a time frame. You make your own time, and so that's stuff that's important that you can get from having financial freedom.
Yeah, you can gain time from it. It's like I do this headquarters right now. It takes all my time, but eventually we'll get to the point where I can allocate things to other people. Like I can afford to pay them to handle this aspect of it, and that takes a huge weight off my shoulders. Hey, I don't got to train any more clients because I've got enough trainers and stuff, and I've got enough going on that that allows more hours and time and freedom to it. You know what I'm saying? But you got to fucking bust your ass. Too.
And even like you said, like even being able just to go on a trip for like 3 weeks and not have to worry about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like most people can't do that.
And I'm like you, man. I love to travel.
Love traveling. Me and Coda, we love traveling.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're always going, so we're always on the road.
Man, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Nah, it's not. We don't have any kids right now, and so we're just living life. And so it's cool seeing different cities and seeing different cultures and stuff like that. Of course. It's been cities that we went to that, going into it, I didn't really think that I would really like it. But when you get there, it's completely different than what you thought.
Yeah.
So,
it's easy to make assumptions.
It is.
That's another thing in that book, too. Don't make assumptions. You're going to love that book.
I'm about to get that book.
I took a note for you.
Are you talking about the 4 Agreements?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You told me last night. I was like, yo, I got to get it.
Yeah, man.
I need to read it. I've been told by so many people to read it.
Yeah, man. I'm going to reference it a lot on this podcast.
I got some good ones for you, but I've never read that. I've never read that one before.
I ordered it for the beach. Or I ordered it a while back, actually, and I had it, and I was looking for a book to read when I went to this last beach trip.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is like 140 pages. It's not tiny words. It looks like a pretty easy read. And I read it in 3 fucking days, and I was just like, I had a highlighter. I'm sitting on the beach, just like, oh my God,
that's
so cool.
Do you highlight usually?
Oh yeah, I highlight a lot.
I'm a big highlighter. You highlight?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Gotcha.
It's big. I mean, because it's always kind of cool to go back in some of these books you've read that especially you gain a lot of value from, and just kind of open a page and look at something you highlight and you're like,
or take notes. I'll highlight or I'll take notes.
Yeah, because you'll forget,
Yeah,
so
for sure.
You wanted to remember that point.
Yeah, you don't want to go all the way back through the book and try to figure out where it's at. So
when I was really good at my routine, I would try to highlight and then come back and take the notes, and it made me feel like I was reading the book 3 times every time. Because you're reading it, then you're highlighting it, then you're. But I'm terrible at going back and taking the notes. So
sometimes what I'll do is I'll get a book and I'll do the audio too, and I'll have it read to me while I'm like going through the book. That way.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, so
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so I'll do that because like
that's pretty cool.
Hearing somebody say it and then looking at the words, you think about it differently.
Dude, that's pretty rad. I'm actually going to give that a shot.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Because I do well with reading, but sometimes sometimes your mind can be other places.
That's it.
And then you're reading and then you're like, man, I don't remember anything from this fucking page right
here.
And then the audio books, I've tried to do it and I'll be on like long drives or whatever. and I just space out. I start thinking about
it's the
things.
voice for me.
And
Like
then
if they have a terrible voice,
you're like, man, I forgot the last 30 minutes of this freaking recording, and I got to restart the shit. But putting the two together, I think I do better with reading books, and I love paperback books. I just like having them. I don't know.
Right.
But I think I'm going to give that a shot, man. See how it
for
works.
real. Like it's cool, like to, have the audio and then have the book and like it's basically reading it to you, but you're seeing the words. So like you're catching stuff, you know, as you're looking at the words, but you're still getting somebody that's reading to you. So for me, like you said, like, your mind's all over the place, especially like
that's a problem I have when I read. I'll read a line that gets into my head and I'll start thinking about it. And it's like I'm still reading, but I'm not really
but you're not catching the rest of it.
Yeah.
And so like, especially if I got like a lot of stuff going on business wise, me trying to read, like I'm catching like words here and there, but I'm still thinking about this. So when you're listening to the audio, somebody's reading to you, it's clearing your mind because somebody's basically talking to you.
Yeah.
And so when they're talking to you and you're looking at the book too and you're reading it, then it makes you kind of focus on a different level and kind of like clear out your mental.
Yeah, because that's cool.
I feel like it would help me jump back in too.
Yeah.
Like if I get caught in a particular line, I'm like, oh, and I pick back up wherever they're at.
Yeah.
Like a paragraph down or something.
And then sometimes like hearing somebody, I learned this in acting, like having somebody read something, they're going to say it differently maybe than what you would read it. And so, maybe it's a point that, stands out that you're reading it. And if you're just reading, you're not catching it as much as when they say it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, okay, cool. It's meant to be read like that.
Yeah.
And so it helps. It definitely helps.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I'll check that out. I mean, and the last thing on the reading is, to me, timing's big. Typically, I read first thing in the morning when my mind is relatively clear.
Right.
Or I don't know. Some people can just do it. I had a buddy. We went on a road trip down to Florida, for our tribe stuff, and he was in the back seat. I'm in the front playing metal, talking to my homie in the passenger seat. And he's back there reading like for hours. I'm like, how the fuck do you do that,
dude,
man?
That's Coda. Coda can read anywhere. I'm like you. I gotta be like either at the end of the night or in the morning,
or on
like,
the beach.
Yeah, somewhere like it has to be like completely like zone in time to be able to do it. But
it's super random, but have you ever heard of people that get sick whenever they read in the car? Have you ever heard about that? It like makes you nauseous to read in the car.
I've heard people.
I feel like it made me nauseous.
That's happened to me before. I don't know why though. I don't really know why, but it does. I don't really either. But for some reason, it does. Like after a while, it would. I haven't read in the car in forever, but
if I'm in the car, I usually podcast is my thing. Like especially if I'm taking like a road trip.
You got a couple episodes to
to
catch up on.
From yesterday. For sure. Like music, I'll listen to music for a while.
I love some music.
I get burnt out on music, especially if it's a long trip. And so then that's when I start digging into the podcast and just trying to find different things. Like I'm big in podcasts that, obviously are motivational, but also like business related podcasts and stuff like that.
Yeah. My buddy's got me into some stories. Like there's this page they do like horror stories.
Oh, really?
It's all based off like Appalachian lore, like in the Appalachian Mountains. And these people do accents and shit. They'll try to sound like real mountain hillbilly,
That's crazy.
and but it's all dark. It's got like witchcraft in it.
Yeah.
So for a while there, I was just listening to that because I was like, man, I'm really getting into these stories. Like they do it so well. I thought that was pretty cool. But you know what I've gotten to lately? And I think it's because like I've got so much going on. So I'm busy. And yeah, those sound really echoey. But I've been just busy as hell. And for some reason lately, I'll just drive in the quiet. I'll just have no music going. I won't have anything playing. And I'll be driving for a while and I just no noise, man.
It's
just cruising.
Funny. Coda's like that.
Yeah.
Coda can go 19 hours and not play anything.
Really?
And so like, me, riding with her and being with her now, like I found myself doing that a lot.
Yeah. Does she drive usually?
She's a driver. She's one of those people, like, if you're driving, she's freaking out because you're driving.
I'm the same way. I have to drive everywhere.
She's the same. Like, 9 times out of 10 when we're taking a trip, unless she's just absolutely dog tired, she's driving.
Yeah.
I'll get way too anxious in the passenger seat.
I love having control, man. I love being behind the wheel. I love having my truck, all my shit with me. And I
can't do it, dude.
Everywhere I go with my friends, we got a trip. Joe's driving. I mean, and nobody even asks anymore because I'm going to be like, no, screw you.
Yeah.
I got the wheel. It's just a weird thing.
I'll lose my shit on a backseat driver too, dude. I'll lose it on a backseat driver. Like, bro.
Like me, I'm chill. Like, like, as long as you're not driving crazy. Now, like, if you're driving crazy, I'm probably out. Like, I'm not, like, car wreck, I already went through that. I'm not trying to go through that again. So, like, if you're driving, like, absolutely crazy. But, like, if I trust you and I feel like you can drive, I don't care if you drive or not.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, she's driving.
I didn't know if it was maybe a thing from the car wreck that you didn't
I was gonna
drive
say,
much.
it's funny, like,
maybe it just kind of freaks you out.
So, what's so crazy about the car wreck is, like, after car wreck, I wouldn't drive. Like, I didn't drive for like almost a year.
Damn.
And the only way that I even got, my brother is the one that got me back to driving, was he tricked me. He was like, man, I gotta go pick up my wife's car. And so I wasn't thinking. So I went with him to pick up his wife's car, and he throws me the keys to her brand new car.
Yeah.
Like, yo, you gotta drive home, and then left. And so I'm like, oh, shit. And so I did. I had to drive it back to his house. And really, that's what broke me back into driving.
It's kind of cool, though. Like, he knew that. I mean,
yeah, he knew it.
He kind of forced you to, because eventually you got to get behind the wheel.
Yeah.
You got to be able to get to point A.
Absolutely.
From point A to point B. So, yeah, man. I mean, that was good on him.
Nah, it was.
Forcing you into that position. You know what I'm saying?
At the time, I was so pissed.
You're like, you piece of shit. Yeah.
You got about 2 minutes. So we can stop now, or you can.
Yeah, let's stop now because I wanted to switch it all up.
Okay,
so,
cool. All right, cool.
So, ad read coming at you. We had a long break and we talked about more things than weren't recorded, but we're just having a good time today.
Yeah, for sure.
So Ruck, go ahead and tell us about, just tell us where to find Ruck Nutrition and everything, where to find you. Go ahead and give us a little ad.
So you can find Ruck Nutrition at rucknutrition.com. You also Instagram Ruck Nutrition. My Instagram's I am Charles Rucker. We have everything. We have 2 different pre-workouts. We have our top selling product is our Total Cleanse Full Body Detox. It has a probiotic in it. Also has ingredients that keeps water weight and bloating off of you. We got fat burners. We have EEAs, which are really good. We even sell Delta 8, and we're about to start selling Delta 9 as well. And we also got a new product that's about to hit the stores soon. And collagen. I would say collagen is another thing that we got.
Hell yeah, man.
So, yeah, for sure.
Got a good line of stuff, and it keeps going.
Yeah, and, one thing about our company, I always tell people, like, I was a fitness model for, 12 years. And the reason I even started the company was because I got tired of, to be honest, promoting products and companies that I just didn't. Oh, okay. I would say promoting products and companies that, I just didn't believe in, and, products that has shitty ingredients. So, like, all of our products, me and my team, I got an R&D that will sit down and we go through all the ingredients. We make sure the ingredients are good quality. You're not getting any bullshit ingredients. And then anything that we have, I test out for at least 6 months before it ever even drops.
Nice.
Sometimes even a year.
Hell yeah.
Our fat burner, our Total Cleanse, I tested out for a year before we even came out with it. So
nice, dude. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sure, you know how many people probably don't do that?
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, my name's on it, obviously. So, I don't want to put nothing bullshit out there. And even like our Pre-Ruck 2.0, like that took it almost a year to come out with because it has mushrooms in it. So it has Pico 2, has 7 strands of mushrooms.
Yeah.
And so the ingredient part of that, we knew what we wanted to do on that, but flavoring mushrooms was the hard part because they're so strong.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't get the flavor right. So it almost took a year just to even get those out on the market. So yeah, it takes time.
Good shit. Well, yeah, Ruck Nutrition,
Ruck
baby.
Nutrition,
Check it out. Check them out. Also brought to you by Cinema 83, my boy Logan. He does all the whole production. He does all the videos for RP. He does videos and shit for everybody, for a lot of people.
I'm gonna start doing some stuff with him too.
Yeah,
man.
Logan's legit, man. He works hard and he's always here, busting his ass with everything. But yeah, check him out at what's the Cinema 83 LLC on Instagram, and reach out to him for all your video related needs.
For sure.
And Relentless Pursuit, baby. We're here. Relentless _Pursuit on Instagram.
See that?
Yeah, representing Relentless Pursuit _HQ for all the headquarters stuff. And RelentlessPursuitLifestyle.com is the website. Go check out our new launch. And there we are. I got a guide. See that art here? Like on the outsides? I've got a bunch of art by him. This dude Ryan Case, and he just that one glows in the dark, but he does just like these crazy colors and shit, as you could see.
Yeah.
But he's doing the RP logo, in that kind of style.
Right.
I don't know. He should be shipping it to me this week, but he
what's
used
up.
like gold flake paint too. So,
Oh, that's what's
and
up.
I'll put that up right there.
Is it acrylic?
Huh?
Is it acrylic? I paint. That's what I was wondering.
Man, honestly, you can mess with it and see, but
it looks acrylic.
I just like his style, man. I think it's just different and unique, and so I wanted to see what he could do with the logo, and I'll put that like right there.
No, that's what's up. Yeah, that's my down thing, like painting. Like if
No
I'm
shit.
super stressed out, like I'll paint a picture. That's how like Coda or anybody around me can tell. Like if I'm stressed out, then I'm usually probably painting a picture or something like that.
See, cello is mine. I
See,
practice
music?
cello. It tends to stress me out.
I
more.
saw you talk about that on the podcast.
Dude, it's so hard, but it's cool. I'm improving day by day. You know, it's just
That's what's
you got to
up.
be consistent. It's something that's become just like this lifetime pursuit of mine. Like I don't expect to ever be some fucking superstar at cello.
Yeah.
but I think it's just something like I'll always have, and just improve.
And I
over
love
time.
music. I'm the same. Like I had piano lessons when I was younger, and I
love
played
piano.
the drums for a while when I was younger too.
Yeah,
And that's one thing I wish I would have just kept doing because I love music. So
Yep. I almost started the cello almost out of a spiteful thing after my ex, because she was like, "You don't have time to do cello," and then as soon as we called things off, I went and
motherfucker,
got
I'm
a
about to
cello.
do cello.
Yeah, I'm doing cello.
I'm doing fucking
I'm
cello.
going to do it. I'm
gonna make time.
Yeah, and I do make my time for sure. Usually in the mornings after I meditate and shit, it's all like works in together.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Morning routine is huge.
Morning routine's my
Absolutely huge.
God, it's huge.
It is.
That's like the most important part of my day.
That's the worst part about traveling is trying to
Yes.
keep a morning routine. Because like, especially like these last 2 months, us traveling so much, it's like,
Are we recording? Oh, cool.
okay, yeah, these last 2 months, traveling, trying to keep my morning routine, that's been hard. Because like you're in a different place all the time, so it's hard to get that morning routine.
Yeah.
So, but that's one thing. Like when I am in prep, like your routine is everything. So that's why I usually don't travel. But yeah, no,
makes
morning
sense.
routine is everything.
So I'm curious. So I do want to get into that. We talked about your life story a little bit. Where you came from, your accident, which is a big part of like why you are
Everything.
the way you are. Yeah, everything.
Yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
I can relate to that just because my accident's is part of everything I fucking do now.
Absolutely. I tell people,
know?
like, if I didn't get in that car wreck, I don't know where I was. I was in a bad place, because I didn't get to, go play ball at Georgia or anything like that. And so I was kind of mad where I was at.
Yeah.
Playing ball anyway. And so I was hanging around with bad little crew and staying in trouble. So car wreck really like set me down, wake me up.
Yeah.
For sure.
Good shit.
Yeah.
That's good, man. It worked out. Well, you said, I remember, I'm backtracking way back. You said you eventually got here. You played for Nashville Storm, correct?
Yeah.
And then you got connected with Brandon Curry. So tell us about your bodybuilding journey, man. And like, tell us about it and like what made you latch onto that sport, for a bit.
What's so crazy is I was absolutely not interested in it, like at all. Like even when me and Brandon was, working out and was friends, like at the very beginning, I respected, what he was doing. And, it was big here, in this area. It's been big because, Brandon was here and then Flex was here.
I didn't realize how heavily saturated Murfreesboro especially is for the bodybuilding world.
Now it's retarded.
It's crazy.
Like, it's not like this anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like totally, like completely different.
Yeah,
like
it's nuts.
now it's huge. But
Which
back
is cool.
then-
It's a good
It
thing for it
is.
to be. I mean, you think of like all the things your cities could represent or like
Yeah.
what could be like very prevalent there.
Right.
Some cities have heroin. That's their big thing. But we got bodybuilding
We got
and shit. So
bodybuilding.
that's pretty cool.
I tell people like this is like the only place you can go and you can go, out to eat and your waiter be like 300 pounds with a 6-pack. Like,
Yeah, right.
shit. Like that's
the truth.
That's the area.
Yeah.
And so it is cool like seeing how it has revolved over the years, bodybuilding in this area because like now it's huge. But back then it was still bigger here than anywhere I've been because I didn't know anything about bodybuilding. And so Brandon had his show, Music City Muscle, at that time. So I had a few people that kept telling me, man, you need to get on stage.
When was this?
2012.
Shit.
Yeah.
That's a while back.
It's a while back.
I'm still stationed down there in Florida.
Yeah, 2012. And so I did my first prep and won my class. And so I fell in love with the sport instantly because for me, you know, when I left football, you know, there's a certain rush that you get, like right before you run out on the field that, you know, you hear the crowd and this and that. And like once sports is over, you got it, like you've had that your whole life. So you're like, dude, I got to find that in something.
Sometimes you get the guys that sit there and talk about it. You know, like
over and over.
They like gained a bunch of weight and they're like, I was all conference. It's like, dude, nobody cares now, man. But
nobody cares.
I don't think they ever tried to find another outlet. Well, it was just over after that.
Exactly. And that's, you know, that was the thing. And, you know, that's something, you know, even goes with mental health because I talk about that a lot. Like when athletes are done with their sport, like, you know, I played football since I was 5 till I was like 22.
Yeah.
And so once it's gone, you know, your identity is like.
There's a documentary I referenced. It's about Olympian athletes. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen it. It's on either Amazon or Netflix, but it talks about Olympic athletes and basically, it's called the golden something, going for gold or something like that. But it talks about how their whole life journey, their whole pursuit has been this one moment in the Olympics. Yeah. And then it's afterward, they're like, either, you know, they might be done and they're like, I don't know who the fuck I am. Yeah. Like that was their whole identity. And, you know, I think their parents and shit should have to, like, their parents and shit are guilty because Olympic athletes, you know, that's all they focus on. And then you got parents that are just enforcing that and nothing else. There's no other growth. So I think, you know, shame on the parents for fucking just like sucking away the rest of their life. Absolutely. But then they go to they do the Olympics and maybe they place, maybe they get it. But afterwards, either way, they're like, I don't know who I am. And a lot of them mental health is fucked for them. Yeah, a lot of them kill themselves, you know?
And that was crazy because last year I did a mental health seminar and I said, I forgot what the actual percentage was, but it was like 42% of NFL players commit suicide.
What?
Like you really would not
Nobody talks about this.
Nobody talks about this.
Wow.
And so like if you Google it, it's something like that. It's something crazy. And you know, you said think about, especially for an NFL athlete, like even if you're not a star player, and let's say you're just on the team. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like in your hometown or your area that you're in, like you're still that dude that made it to the league. Yeah. And so once that's over and you've been doing that your whole life, like you don't know who you are. You don't know who you are past that sport. And your identity's so attached to that one sport that you're lost. And so that's when a lot of athletes, you know, go down, you know, either drugs or, you know, I realize a lot of athletes that go one or two ways. Like you got some athletes that, you know, just go full blast into something else, like, you know, business related or whatever. But then you got those other athletes that spiral out. Yeah. And it's like that disconnect. And it's not even that, you know, it's just where they're still like their whole life they've been known as, you know, Charles Rucker, that football player or whatever. And then it's gone. And so you're like, well, am I? Like, what do I really
So I say after, you know, people are going to be like Joe Adams, that romance novel cover guy, you know? And I'm like, is that all I am? Is good looks? Right? You know what I'm saying? No, I'm just kidding.
That's it.
No, but
all you want is this body.
That's all you know me as. I'm more than that.
I'm deeper than that.
I'm more than this some like biker that's stealing the cop's wife, whatever the scenario is. But anyways, I know what you're saying, man. Like
for sure.
That's to a lot of people, that's their identity. So they just own that.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's you know, it's real. You know, I just had a friend that, you know, got cut from the league, and you know, me and him had a deep conversation about a week ago, and you know, he told me, he's like, man, when I got cut, he was like, I didn't care if I lived, like, and that's literally like, you know, your mindset, like you almost feel like, and it's crazy because like a lot of, you know, NFL it stands for not for long, like you don't stay there long, like
never heard that.
You know what I'm saying? So like. A lot of players, you know, they're done in their 20s. And so
they still got a lot of life.
Yeah, left. In their head, their life's over, but technically you ain't even did half your life.
But they have a lot of opportunity to create more.
They do. And that's where, you know, they got to tap into the outlet of being able to do more.
And I think that's something I would definitely bring up if, you know, I ever get the opportunity to talk to athletes, whether in high school or whatever, because, you know, I've got a story, and I think as we grow up, those kind of doors will open. and even you, but like emphasize that. Be like, hey, you know, I know this is what you care about now, and like it should always be important. You should always take it serious, but there's so many more aspects to your life that are extremely important to grow in as well. You know, tell them to focus on their spirit, like find out who you are deep down spiritually, like work on your mental health, you know, create lasting relationships that are, I guess, embody a lot more than just the sport, you know. If you get what I'm saying, and like find things you love and stick to that, but like also take this serious. You can do both.
Absolutely.
That way, when it is all over, whether it's just whether you're done after high school or after college, or you know you're in the league for just a bit of time, you're like, hey, I'm good though. Like I got to experience that, and now like life's moving forward in other ways, and it's cool.
And that's the thing too. You know, you always want to look at stuff as a platform to be able to help and reach people. You know, even with like football or bodybuilding. You know, for me, I look at it as a platform for giving me opportunities to being able to go to high schools and talk to athletes, or going to speak at events, or stuff like that. So you got to look at it like that. Like you're more than that. Like your job is actually to help people. Yeah. So
you look at Inky Johnson, for example.
Dude, one of my favorite people to listen to.
I know. I can't get in touch with him. I'm trying to get him on here.
Dude, let me just come when you get him on.
Just have like a crowd sitting in here.
Let me just,
One of these days, man, he won't be able to he'll be like, man, this RP brand is blowing me up. They're massive.
Yeah,
and he's going to have no choice.
But yeah, his story's crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? His situation.
But look at him. Yeah. Look what he's turned it into, man. He's turned it into something like, instead of being like, fuck, man, it's over. Like, I can't play ball. Like, spiral out of control. He was like, you know what? I'm going to fucking use this to inspire masses of people. And he's got a massive following. And he crushes it, man. He's a huge inspiration to a lot of people.
He's one of the best speakers out there. And that's really the truth. Because that's one thing, like me, I'm trying to get more into doing more public speaking and stuff like that.
Something I definitely want to do too,
dude,
man.
I love it. And, especially like when I get to go talk to like teams and stuff, I love talking to athletes.
Mentorship.
Yeah, dude, that's so cool because, at one point in time, you was one of those kids. And I remember people coming to talk and stuff like that. So, but that's one thing, I study a lot of, speakers and stuff like that. And Inky, man, he's so passionate when he talks.
Yeah.
And like, you can tell that, he really took everything he went through and just brought it out.
Yep.
But he'll make you cry.
Dude, he will.
He'll make you cry just from the passion that he speaks with.
Yeah.
Make you cry.
I'm
a Tennessee fan too, so like I remember when he got hurt. I remember
Go Dogs.
Tennessee.
Roll Tide. With you, man. Roll Tide. Dude, I don't watch sports, so I'm like, okay. I'm always just trying to like irritate him because he'll talk about sports with people on the show, and I'm just sitting there like, and I just I'll yell random shit because I don't pay attention to any sports.
He calls it sports ball season.
Yeah. I'm
sports ball
season. Yeah, sports ball's here.
Hey, that's one thing about it. Football season comes, everything just shuts down. Like everybody on Saturday and Sunday is watching sports, and you're just like.
What's funny is Lydia doesn't either.
Oh, for real?
We just do our own things, man. But we don't get into sports. Like I'll go to an event.
Yeah.
For fun and just to tailgate and socialize and stuff. But I'll never, I just don't follow it, man. And it's not that I grew up playing sports my whole life. Like, I like sports. I just don't like watching them.
Right.
Just a thing.
No,
but teach your own. I don't hate everybody does.
Everybody has their own thing. So
yeah.
My girl's in my fantasy league.
Golf.
My girl's in my fantasy league.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Coda likes watching games. She don't know teams and players and stuff like that, but she just likes watching the game. So
someone was doing a fantasy thing last night at the bar. The dude Dane that's going to be training here, and I was like, "Yeah, Ben, you need to pick up Deion Sanders." And he was like, "Man, he's gone.
He's coaching now."
But anyways, all right. So we were saying that was your identity, everything, and that was kind of leading into the whole getting into. Bodybuilding. Oh,
bodybuilding, yeah. So I did my first show, fell in love with it because that was the thing with me when I got on stage. That adrenaline rush that I was looking for, I felt it instantly, and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool, I can do this." Like this, that's why I was looking for that right there.
Yeah, something that disciplines you and gives you a goal to.
And that was the other thing too about bodybuilding. I played football and box, growing up or whatever, and the one thing that I always say bodybuilding is like the hardest sport I've done. It's because it's mentally 24/7.
Yeah.
Mentally, you constantly have to be on your prep. You got to be on your food, your cardio, your workouts. Like it's 24/7. Like football, you go to practice. After practice is over, you good until practice, you know, the next day
Yeah.
or the game or whatever.
You don't got to really account for the nutrition aspect. Like when I was I was a lineman, you know, my coaches were like, Adams, eat.
Yeah,
just
that's
eat.
all.
And I'm
Football,
like,
that's all I care.
my
Bigger,
mom
stronger,
making
faster.
pasta. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah,
Like this is all I got to do. Nice.
Exactly. And then bodybuilding, like I always tell people too, like the thing about it is, you know, when you're in prep, it doesn't just affect you, it affects everybody around you. You know what I'm saying? Because everything has to be so on point to details.
Yeah.
That like, no, you can't go out. Like, no, you can't travel. You know, like, no, you can't do, you know, me and Coda don't get to go out to eat, you know, when I'm in prep. And so it affects everybody.
Yeah, I know. I was talking to Jen, God, I always butcher her last name, Fashinto. You know what I'm talking about, Jen out in Cookville. And, you know, she's a pro.
Yeah.
And she's like, man, Joe, this is like, I had a conversation with her at the Fit Show. I hadn't talked to her since last year, and she's just a sweetheart and always have a great conversation. But she was saying, you know, they got a lake house, but usually in the summertime, she's always prepping.
Right.
And this is the first time in like several years she's actually been able to, she just taken the season off. She's like, I'm actually able to go out on the boat with everybody and relax. My neighbors, our lake neighbors are like, hey, you know, forgot how cool you were and all this shit. She's like, it's actually really nice not to have to stress about that. Because usually I'm just sitting in the house because I'm on prep. And I'm like, man, like part of me is just like, why the fuck would you do that? But I also get it, man, because once you set your sights on a goal, you'll do anything to achieve it. So, but I also just love life so much. So I get FOMO bad, man. I'm like, they're on the boat. I got to be there. You know what I'm saying? But, man, and I get it too. I competed, you know, that one time when I was in the military.
Right.
And that was tough just because I had to bring all my meals with me to work. I worked on the flight line. So I'd be like having containers, just eating cold chicken. Like my meals,
cold tilapia.
90% of the time were cold.
Yeah.
And I just fucking did it.
Eat it.
You know what I'm saying? Get some mustard on there. But yeah, man, it takes a lot of discipline and stuff. So.
It does for sure.
But so you fell in love with that aspect of it.
I fell in love with it. And then, you know, I always tell people I got blessed. You know, I got my like first like big sponsorship. Like I want to think like not even my second year competing. And so they moved me to Atlanta. So I was in Atlanta for a couple of years. And basically I was just traveling, you know, with them, doing expos and stuff as an athlete. And, you know, that's when I really got to learn supplements and ingredients. And that's where, you know, like falling in love with, you know, actually supplements and learning ingredients and stuff really came really during that period of time. And, you know, it was cool, man. It was, you know, everything at that time seemed like it was happening real fast. You know, I was, you know, at expos. I remember my first Arnold, that, you know, I was at a booth, signing autographs, taking pictures. It was with Ronnie Coleman. And like, it was like one of those moments you're like, oh shit. Like,
it's Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah, it's Ronnie Coleman, like right beside you. And so it was just, I've had a really cool experience. And like I said, I tell people like, man, I got really, really blessed, you know, when it comes to the fitness, you know, the things I've been able to do and, you know, been able to accomplish and stuff like that. But, you know, I love the industry. Bodybuilding is definitely, like I said, I think it's good mental because it does make you disciplined, not just in prep, but in life.
Yeah. I mean, there's always the negative aspects of it. You know, we talked a little bit about that yesterday.
I would say, I mean, it's hard on you mentally too, you know, because you are constantly, you know, chasing the perfect physique. And at the end of the day, the perfect physique is really what you think it is. But you're in a sport where
it's where they think it is.
They think it is. And, you know, you got 7 people with 7 different opinions, you know, trying to pick apart, you know, who has the best physique. And then when you leave the show, you know, it's not like, oh, you look so great or whatever. They're like, oh, you need to work on this.
And your mind's already fucked. You're already hard. You're already picking yourself apart every day up until then. And then to go look at your best you have yet.
Absolutely.
And then be picked apart more. It's like crushing. I mean, body dysmorphia is a real thing.
And I've seen it so much, you know, with athletes. And it's a real thing. And it's something that, you know, a lot of people don't talk about, but that's the part of bodybuilding that, you know, that is kind of like that little dark cloud because, you know, it is hard on you mentally. Because I tell people, like, once you do your first show, you never look at your body the same, period.
Yeah.
Ever.
Dude, I'm telling you, I did that one show, and I mean, even now, you can ask.
Never look at this.
You can ask my girl. I'll be in the mirror, and I'm like, God, I gotta get rid of this tire around my waist. I'm like, sickening person, you know. And she's like, shut up.
If you're not like 3% body fat, you feel like you're like obese.
Yeah,
so, like,
man,
and that's just your mentality, and that's what you think.
And but it also goes back to what we were saying earlier. Is like, don't let just that be it. Like, focus on other aspects of your life that are going to help you. Because just having strength in other areas when you do get off season or whatever, and at least you're strong there. But if that's all you got, then you're just fucked.
You're
just constantly in the mirror. You're not thinking. You're not worried about growth in other areas. But that's why it's very important to be involved with other things.
Absolutely, for sure. So. And that's one thing about it is like being more than just an athlete. Like being an athlete's great. But you are more than that. Like, you are a person. You got a voice. You do have smart ideas, and you can accomplish so much more too. And I think a lot of athletes just get caught up in just being athlete because that's all they know.
They build it around that one thing.
They've been athletes their whole life. So you got to realize that there is more than just being an athlete, and you got to find what that is. That what it is that you're good at. That's outside of sports, like, if it's speaking, it's speaking. If it's writing, it's writing. Like, whatever it is, business, whatever it is, have that outlet that you do. Like I told you, I paint. I like painting. Like, a lot of times when I get stressed, I'll sit down, I'll paint a picture. And so there's other things to your life that you got to also focus on too, because, at the end of the day, nobody's an athlete forever. It's going to come to an end at some point.
I'm telling you, man. And that's real too. I mean, you're gonna grow older.
You are.
You're going to feel it more. I mean, I'm telling you, after what I've been through with my wreck, my legs, they're double in age, man. And like, I pushed myself, and I just had this knee surgery recently because I blew up my knee in that fight in January. And the surgeon was just telling me about my arthritis. And he's like, dude, your arthritis, like, your joints look like a shag rug.
Right.
And he was like, but you seem like the kind of guy that's just going to deal with it. And I'm like, well, that's my only fucking option. But it definitely weighs on you, And
for sure,
I'm going to move as much as possible and being as active as I can for the rest of my life. But, it's definitely, there comes a time where you're not an athlete, and that's okay.
Be smart. And it is okay. And that's the thing, is you got to be okay with it. I think that's you see it in all kinds of sports where athletes keep going and keep going and keep going, and you're like, dude, you should have quit like 4 years ago. Like,
and then they kind of make themselves look like everybody's just shaking their head.
Hey, God, please, like, just get out. And so... And that's the thing, is like, you got to know when your time's up, and be okay with that.
When's your time up for bodybuilding?
I get asked that question a lot. I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I don't know yet. I've been back on the fence on that. So
I guess we'll just be following your journey.
Yeah,
man.
I will say we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm gonna do the Arnold this year or not. That's the question I've been getting asked quite a bit.
Yeah.
Man, I'm enjoying life. I got a new wife. We're enjoying traveling. There's a lot of things business-wise that I want to focus on. I do love speaking, and so it's something that I do want to get more into. So I don't know. I don't know when it's up. So,
well, hey, man, you got a lot. I mean, you still can work towards it, but you're focusing on all these other beautiful things, and I think that's important, man. And just to, like, stay geared in on that, and it'll work out how it should. So
I got a question real quick. Football, boxing, bodybuilding, all things equal. Which one?
Which one? What? Like would you like all things
in
love with?
Like all things equal, you could participate in one of them right now.
Dude, I would do anything to run the ball one more time in football, for sure.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Absolutely, I would do it. Yeah, I ain't, because football was my first love. Like, I played football since I was five.
Yeah,
same. 5 years old, baby.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
knocking heads.
To get back on that field. I'll be honest with you. When football was done for me, I wouldn't watch football for 2 years.
Really?
Like,
it was like traumatic almost.
I just couldn't watch it. Like, I missed it that much. And so, like, even now I'll watch it. I'm like, yo, give me one play.
I was gonna say to you earlier that, but you were on such a good thing, I didn't want to interrupt you, but for that experience happened to me. I wanted to go to college and I wanted to do those things, and it didn't work out for me to play football in college. And that was kind of like my dream growing up, was play. I didn't want to play in the NFL. I wanted to play in college.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out. And like you said, I don't think it's talked about at all, especially in the program that I played in. It was blood, sweat, tears. You give every single, it was really hardcore program. The guy who was the head coach had been a head coach for like 50 years. We ran a wing tee. We ran a wing tee offense.
Okay. Yeah.
So real old school style. Yeah. You give your soul to that shit. And then the moment that the clock hits 000 on that last game, bro, it's like, I described it to people as like, they want you to give all that, and then they will be with you and walk you right up to the edge of a cliff, and then that clock hits 000 your senior year, and they push you right off the edge. Please. And I know people that were favorites of the coaching staff who died, who got into drugs, who, because it wasn't you know, it wasn't what it was promised to be, and they didn't receive the support. There's no like real alumni association at that school, and like, so my point is that I dealt with that, and boxing was it was years before I really got into boxing. Once I got into that was the first time that I had that feeling again. Where I was like, oh, I was hype, and I was late, and you know, it was just adrenaline pumping in a different way than I was still weightlifting, but.
And I think that's
competing. That was the thing. Being across from somebody and competing. Where are you going to throw? Where am I going to dodge? You know, if I go here, you're going to do this. Competing. You know, it activated that for the first time in years for me. And I was like, all right, boxing, I got to do this. And it was because I lost that, bro. And that hole that leaves, like you said, is something people don't talk about a lot. And for a young man, dude, 18 to 22 years old, that's like the worst time for you to have that going on.
And it really, like, it never, I mean, I still, you know, when I watch a game, you still feel it. Like, it doesn't really go away. Yeah. And
I do remember, dude, that was a good feeling, man, being on the field.
It is. It's like the only time you can sit and literally hit the shit out of a grown man and not go to jail. You know what I'm saying? Like, legally do it.
Bro, I see Hunter Renfro running around out there and Cooper Kupp. I'm like, well, that was my game. I could have. Dude. Man.
Nah, it's cool. Like, but, you know, the thing is, you know, once you go past, like, I always tell people, high school is the best time to play football.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're playing with your friends, you're playing against your friends.
Even NFL players say that.
No, for sure. Like your family. Because once you get to college, you realize real fucking quick that shit's business. Like, and then, you know, even past that, it's really business. And so, you know, the best time to play is high school. So like that moment and that experience that you have in high school football, you don't get. That's not that experience. You don't have it anymore.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It becomes more business. It becomes more of a job. So, you know, walking away from that I ain't gonna say it's easier because it's still hard because you've been playing the sport for forever. But like, especially if high school is your last game, and you know that's all you remember.
It's almost like you walked away at a point where you were like, yeah, you kind of saw like a bad side to it, so it was a little bit easier. Almost.
Yeah, so like, yeah, you know, in college, you kind of get like, all right, so it's different. Like I said, it's business, so you gonna walk
almost
away
like
from
jaded to that side to it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, I would say that. It's, you know, especially when it comes to college, the biggest thing is, you know, everybody was the man in high school, you know, so everybody was, you know, all state, all region, you know, everybody was dominant on their position, and, you know, getting there, you know, you're constantly fighting for your position, you know, it's the competition is on a different level, but at the same time, it is more of a business because, you know, you don't produce, you could lose your scholarship, or you definitely won't play, or, you know, whatever. And, you know, they care about you, but at the end of the day, you know, their job.
They still got to do business.
Their job is to win, you know. So
they're still working, man.
Yeah, and just like the NFL, same thing. Like, I have friends that play in the NFL that, you know, they talk about, you know, they're constantly getting cut from teams and stuff like that, and they'll just walk out on the field and, you know, basically say, like, you're cut, you know.
That's crazy.
And like,
fuck, that's gotta be shattering.
And it's hard because like, you know, in high school you have that brotherhood with your team, and so when you're getting to that level and you don't know if you're going to be there the following year, it's hard to, like, you know,
create that bond.
Yeah. So it's different.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, and we were talking about how a lot of people think that's it for them, but I will say there's a lot of people. The thing is, there's so many ways to compete as you go past these sports.
That's the thing, right?
Sure. You see a lot of collegiate athletes get into competitive CrossFit and they crush that shit. You know, fucking bodybuilding. My dad, you know, was a college swimmer, and you know, he's doing Ironmans and shit. You know, so there's so many avenues to go. Like, it's not over yet. You can still compete. Yeah, it may not be with that, but you're still an athlete.
And even business. I mean, you compete in business. Like, you know,
and that's fun, man.
Yeah, when you're competitive, like, you can be competitive in anything.
Yeah, you'll
find some way to be competitive.
Yeah,
like, that's in you. That's in you. Like, that's in you. Like, you can't take that away. Like, you're going to be competitive.
And the way I look at it, man, I feel like I'm 32 and I feel pretty fucking good and young.
Yeah, dude, you have your whole life. Like, but
that is crazy to think about.
But from the standpoint, from a player aspect, you know, you're told, like, you know, you're old. You're towards the end of your career. Like, you know, and that's, so when it's over, all you've been told is that you're old. Yeah, no, you're beat up. Like,
there's
so
much more life to live.
And like, life is like, you have so much life after that.
Yeah.
And so it's just that whole being implanted in your head constantly.
Yep.
You know.
And he was talking about, like, also the fear of certain things like CTEs or whatever, you know, stuff like that. I mean, but at the end of the day, it's like, I don't know, man. There's so many people that are frightened by maybe the consequence of whatever they pursue, whether it's bodybuilding, fighting, or whatever. They're so frightened by it. This might happen. And then, man, and they die like doing nothing.
Well, yeah.
You know, or
sure.
whatever.
Like,
And it's just like, at the end of the day, this is your only fucking life.
Yeah.
You know, and just like, do your thing.
And I mean, I feel
love.
like as an athlete, you got to block that out. I mean, obviously, you know, when you play football, you always, you know, you're one hit away from, you know, being paralyzed or, you know, your career being over.
It's crazy because I just never thought about it. I was just throwing my
like,
body around. I was like, I don't even care.
As an athlete, you have to put that on the back burner because you know, if you're not, then you're not going to play your best anyway.
Exactly.
And that's what I was thinking about to try to help myself with that stuff. Is I think like you do it for all the reasons why you love it.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't not do it for the thing
that you're scared of.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Fuck it. Do what you love, baby.
Do what you love.
That's what matters.
Absolutely.
The cameras have been back on for a couple minutes, so go wherever you want to go.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, going forward, you got into bodybuilding.
Yeah.
What got you into supplements, man? Tell us about like Ruck Nutrition, like got you going with that and where you're at with it now.
Yeah. So, you know, that was one of the things, you know, as, you know, me being an athlete for companies and traveling, that's what really got me interested in supplements and ingredients and stuff like that. And so my last contract was up, I think like 2018, 2017. And so I didn't want to renew it. I just wanted to start my own company.
Yeah.
And we started out with just a pre-workout. And it was just one of those things where, you know, a lot of times when I am in the off season, if I'm training, I'm still doing like, you know, football type workouts. 'Cause,
Yeah.
you know, that's my background. That's what I love, you know,
Yeah.
stuff like that, doing crazy workouts. And, you know, a lot of pre-workouts that I would take would make me sick. You know, I would throw up because it'd just be too much.
Yeah.
And so I started really looking into creating a pre-workout that was, you know, performance-based where you could do it if you were doing like high intensity or if you was just having like a regular, you know, workout where, you know, your typical bodybuilding workout. But I just kind of wanted to make a pre-workout. It's kind of like for, you know, every athlete.
Yeah.
And so that started the company. And so, you know, we launched Ruck Nutrition and, it did good right out the gate. And we kind of grew it from there.
I mean, it seems like you got caught the line of stuff too.
Yeah, I would say 2020 is when 2021 is when I started really redoing the brand. That's why we changed the labels and bringing, you know, other supplements in on the line and stuff like that.
So I know you went through a lot in 2020. You want to touch on that a little bit? You know,
sure.
tell people, because I know you were going through life and then 2020 tended to be a pretty hectic, chaotic year for you.
It's crazy because, like, you know, before 2020, I would have told you one of the darkest places of my life was the car wreck.
Yeah.
But, you know, 2020 happened, and that was definitely probably the darkest place I've been, you know.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I've always felt like I was strong mentally. You know, I've always felt like I've been mentally strong.
Yeah.
In, you know, everything I've done. And so that was just the one time where, mentally I broke. And so it started out January 1st. I lost my best friend. They found him dead in his tattoo shop. And so it was a devastating experience, to be honest with you, because, you know, I've lost people in the past.
Yeah.
But when you lose your best friend, like, that's different.
Heavy
like,
shit. Yeah.
You know, y'all have deep conversations. Y'all talked about death before. You know, y'all done it. He was my college roommate. And then when I moved to Murfreesboro, he moved up here with me and stayed with me for a while up here. And so, you know, getting that phone call that, you know, they found him dead, that was like, it just didn't seem real.
Yeah.
And so it went from that. And then I ended up losing 17 people within like 12 months.
That's crazy, man.
It was insane. And then on top of it, you know, we're dealing with 2020. So we're dealing with everything else, the pandemic, you know, COVID and all that. And so, you know, so at this point, I lost like 6 people. And this was July. And I was like, man, because I'm like going through it, like completely just not really understanding what's going on. And it's like one of those things where you go through so many phases where you're like, you know, you're thankful that you're alive. But then you know, with, you know, Mark, my best friend, he was like, you know, why was it him, not me? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
you know, you go through that.
Been there.
And, you know, stuff like that. And so I decided to go home one day. It was a Saturday. So I went home because I just wanted to get away and just kind of clear my mind. And so went home, and like I said, at this point, I've already lost like six or seven people. And so I'm just in a bad headspace. And so I go home, and me and my boys grill out all day, and we're hanging out. And one of my boys, Meese, grew up with him, known him since he was born. And so he brings this girl over, and she has, a son, and he's telling me, how, happy he is and how they've, he's like the happiest time in his life. And he's like, man, I really feel like I figured things out. And he was different than I've seen him before. And so we get ready to leave, and I'm like, yo, let's all take a picture. You never know the last time you're going to see somebody.
Yeah.
And so Meese walked out to the car with me. He's like, hey, can I get a Ruck shirt? I threw him a Ruck shirt or whatnot. And so I was like, bro, I love you. I'll see you when I get back home. And so by the time I got home, he passed away in his sleep.
Just like that?
Like that, like 33. And so that happened. I was like, I became a shell, like, at that point. Because, like, I done lost all these people. And then that happened. And so you go through a thing, and you're like, was it me? Like, am I
at that point, you're like, what am I, like, am I cursed or something?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what's running through your head.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yo, like, am I bringing this somehow? And so as soon as I get back, my grandmother's never been sick, ever. Like, she's never been in a hospital or anything. And she caught pneumonia. And so she's in a hospital, and she's in the hospital for about 2 weeks, and she's just declining. And so, it was crazy because I knew the day she was dying. And so my mom was, staying with her back and forth. Yeah. And I knew that my mom couldn't stay with her that night because I told you, my mom, she's been battling mental health and mental disability her whole life. I was like, yo, if she's in that room when she passes, I'm going to lose both of them. And so I stayed with her that night and talked to her the whole night. And, I got to tell her, she wasn't responding. She actually, it was crazy because, like, at 12 o'clock, she hasn't responded in, like, 3 days. And I asked her, I was like, Nanny, if you can hear me, raise your hand. She raised her hand. So I was like, oh, shit, she can hear me. So I got to talk to her from 12 to, like, 3. She ended up dying at 3:33. So I was with her all the way up to her last breath. And, at that point, I was just completely numb. I remember when the doctors came in, they were like, hey, dude, they were like, are you good? I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. And they was like, you need us to grab you something or anybody? And I was like, nah, I'm straight. And I think I went and took her earrings out and just walked out. And so it was just, I was completely just numb at that point. Yeah. And so then, like, right after that, my mom got put back in the hospital. And she got put in the hospital 2 more times before the end of the year. And so it was just like 2020 was one of those things where mentally it broke me. And I really didn't know how to fix it. And
that year tested the hell out of you.
Dude, sure. It was definitely, and that's where, you talk about the whole money thing. Cause, like, 2020, financially I was really good. But it couldn't fix anything. Yeah. It was the worst time of my life. And that shit didn't matter. Like, none of that mattered. And so, going into 2021, me and Coda started getting serious. And Coda was she was one of those people that really was there because I went through it. And, talking about mental health, everybody's like, you need to go therapy, And I'm like, yo, I'm not going therapy. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, yeah. Because we talked about it, as men, you don't want to talk about your emotions. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to talk about your feelings and stuff like that. But at the same time, I knew I wasn't good. Like, I was like, yo, I am not okay. And so, that was one of the things with me and Coda. Like, at the very beginning of our relationship, I was so mentally disconnected from just anything and everybody. And so she really, really was patient with me on that. Yeah. And
were you guys already together?
No, we wasn't together in 2020 when all that was going on. That was, she was really catching the aftermath of everything. And so that was the thing about it was, because I was just mentally just in a different place. So I was like, yo, if she can deal with me right now at my worst, then eventually, hopefully I can get back to where I'm myself again. Yeah.
She seems like a pretty incredible person.
Dude, she is. Like, absolutely. Because I'll be completely honest with you. Like, that was to me my bottom, because that was a place where, I thought about suicide. Like, you get to a place where all that's going on, where you're like, I remember I would have anxiety attacks where I felt like I was going to have a heart attack, just because you see so much death death becomes more reality than life does at that point.
Yeah.
And so it was just one of those things, like, I was constantly just putting myself in panic attacks and stuff like that and dealing with it. And so I'm like, yo, if she can deal with this, then, she's solid.
MVP.
Yeah, MVP right there. And so, she did. She had me work through everything. And, 2021, I went to therapy. And, that's when I started, rebuilding the brand and kind of focus, on that and taking my time with that and went through it. But that was 2020. That was when I really was serious about the whole mental health thing, because I've seen it from my mom's perspective of where, she's dealt with it. Because I always tell people think like mental health only affects a person with it. Well, no, it affects everybody.
Right around
because,
you,
you're constantly having to make sure they're good, and, you're constantly trying to get them help and stuff like that. So when 2020 happened, and I dealt with it myself, and realized, like, yo, your mind can take you so many places off of your experiences and things that you're going through. That, I realized, I was like, yo, this is real. And so that's when I got really more serious about it, because I was like, I'm not the only one that deals with stuff like this, but, I definitely want to, help people that deal with this. Because, as guys, we're taught, especially in sports,
Yeah, go ahead. Grab this up.
Yeah, I would say, talk about, in sports, man up, don't show emotions, don't be weak, don't be this, you know what I'm saying? And so you're taught that so much that it's hard to talk about emotions. It's hard to talk about your feelings. And it's hard to talk about, things that you're going through.
And you don't want to be a burden.
You don't want to be a burden.
That's a big one too for guys, because you want to be the rock that helps other people.
You want to be alpha.
You got to lead the household. You got to be strong. Everybody else needs to be depending on you.
Absolutely.
But I tell you what, the funny thing is, though, it's just you do the exact opposite by bottling the things in.
No,
because
completely.
that rock is unstable. That rock's not solid. There's cracks all through it.
Dude, you'll lose it.
Yeah, and you see so many men. I've noticed it over the years, especially I always talk about the boomer age, right?
Yeah.
Like our fathers and stuff like that. You see them, and they don't break out of that shell. Like, I see so many that are still holding things in, and it's like, dude, do you realize how much fucking stronger you can be if you actually talk about these things and you do therapy? Because I always thought therapy was a joke. I was just thinking, like, I don't need fucking therapy.
No.
Get your ego. I'm Joe Adams, man. I've been through a lot of shit. Like, a therapist doesn't know my life.
Right.
They haven't experienced the things I have. But then at the end of the day, they probably talked to a lot of people that have been through just as bad or even worse than you. Yeah. And at the end of the day, they've talked to thousands of people that have been through these things.
Absolutely.
And honestly, it's just somebody to just fucking get shit off your chest.
It is.
And they'll help you understand it a little better from a scientific standpoint, because there is that. And then, you can go a little deeper with spiritual shit. But yeah, dude, therapy is honestly extremely powerful.
No, it really is. And, that's, me doing that pretty much probably saved me, because I don't think I would have been able to pull myself out of that. Like,
my girl talked me into doing therapy.
Dude, it's huge. Yeah, absolutely.
I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'll do it. And I'm like, man, I come back and talk about it and be like, yeah, I learned this, and this.
Yeah.
You leave actually kind of excited because you learned something about yourself you didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where that came from. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing for me, I was thinking about it as you guys were talking, that I think it's really important to develop a really good relationship and, find the right person when it comes to therapy.
Oh, no, that's huge too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to find the right therapist too.
And I've been with the same guy off and on for a few years. I haven't been to him in a few months, but it's interesting the things that you learn, like the tool set that you learn. That's really what they're there for, is to help you like have a tool set to whenever they're not sitting right next to you, something happens and you have a new way to deal with it that you didn't know before. And that's exciting to learn that and to feel like, oh, I can deal with this on my own, quote unquote. But you had to learn something else first, and you had to go to therapy to figure that out or whatever. So it's like you can do it, but that doesn't mean you don't need help. It can be you on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. In fact, it has to be you on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you don't need help. It doesn't mean somebody else may not know something about it that you don't know about, and whatever. So
yeah, I think, and I talked on the first podcast back here. He did this little clip that says depression is real, and I talked about that, and of course, some guy commented on the YouTube clip or whatever. He was like, "Oh, this is just a weak mentality." Da, 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 da. And it's like, dude,
that's so crazy. I said that to Coda last night. I was like, yo, I don't know, like within this last month, I've had more dudes tell me that depression isn't a real thing.
and that's that shit, man.
Like,
That's that old
where the
school
fuck is this
mentality.
coming from?
And it's like, but yeah, they're probably the most miserable ones.
Yeah, I'm like
100%.
100%.
The ones that tend to ignore these things end up letting it build up and fester and fester. And it's like the dads and shit you see that they're in their 60s and they're kind of miserable and they don't let shit off their chest, and you don't really know who they are because they haven't opened up ever.
Absolutely.
They've been wearing this armor their whole life, and they're like, I'm just the father of the household. And you really don't even know them because they've bottled in so fucking much.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And man, there's so much power in just being vulnerable.
No, it is.
know?
I'm about to say, well, you find out a lot about yourself when you're vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, if you're trying to put that shell on or whatever, you know, you're not being yourself.
Well, there's even people on podcasts that do it. I've come across some clips and they're just like, be fucking tough. You know, wake up. And it's just like this mentality. And it's like, dude, I don't know how people even latch onto that, but keeps that ignorant mentality going. You know what I'm saying? Rather than, I don't know, we've had some pretty tough dudes on this podcast and we're just keeping them on. And man, one of the main subjects all across the board is mental health and talking about these kinds of things. And I'm like, I surround myself with some pretty tough people, and we all seem to understand that. But then you get the people that are out there that are just super negative, and they're like, "No, fuck that." And
I told him during one of the breaks that one of the best things that I think has come from the podcast so far, especially since we relaunched it, is the emphasis somehow on every episode on mental health.
Yeah,
no, for sure.
It's been a powerful movement.
Because it's not like we had him here to talk about that necessarily. I mean, like, we didn't have Roy here necessarily to talk about that. We didn't have Tyler here necessarily to talk about that. But, and honestly, it should tell you something about the environment that you create, that people feel comfortable enough to really share, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree 110%. And, you know, I think in my accident, I mean, obviously, I had to have a strong mindset getting through that, and I just was determined to fucking just come out better. Like, I really didn't spiral out of control, man. I handled it very well, and I'm very fortunate for that. And even at that time, I thought, you know, I honestly did have the negative outlook towards, like, depression and, like, those clinical things because...
And that's, for me, I was with you. Because, like, that's a mentality to get through something like that.
Yeah, it's tragic. And you're like, fuck, all right, I'm here, dude. I'm doing this. I'm getting back through it.
Yeah.
You know, but then I talk about it. I brought it up quite a few times, but I talk about when things went south with my ex and, you know, that 4-year relationship, everything flips upside down. Like, so many things were shattered. And, you know, it's just like, holy fuck. And to me, I was like, I took that hard. Like, that was my hard time because I was like, man, depression's real. Suicidal thoughts are real. Like, these things are happening to me and I can't control it. It's just fucking spiraling out of control.
Absolutely.
Every time he brings this up, I make sure to share the statement that he said to me on, I think it was on an episode, but where he said that he would rather go through the accident again than go through the pain that he went through.
100%.
Dude, heartbreak, man.
Dude, I would
that
hit
shit.
the tractor trailer
And I
over
was just
again
like,
before I went through 2020.
I've told that.
It's wild. And that's just wild for me on the outside looking in, because obviously I didn't go through those situations, and it's like a nightmare scenario to go through what you two went through. So to hear you say, you know, I'd go through that again for sure over the heartbreak.
Well,
you know,
the thing is, if you sit and think about, like, the car wreck and, like, your wreck, you know what I'm saying? It's physical and mental. So, like, you're physically hurt.
Yeah.
But you're mentally, you know, if you can really dig, you can physically, you know, get back.
Yeah.
But when you go through, like, you know, emotionally, like, beat down, like, you know, the things I went through in 2020 and, like, with your ex, like, that's different. Like, you can't.
there's like no visual for it.
Especially if you're already like a tough person.
Yeah.
And then you're like, why the fuck is this
It's
wrecking
doing
me
this.
so hard?
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Like,
saying? And
you can't fight through it.
no.
Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not something that you can just, you know, all right, I'm going to get back. I'm going to start working out, get my physique back. Like, I'm going to, like, no, like, you know, this is mental.
You're like, what do I do?
Yeah,
now?
I don't know what to do right now.
Yeah, how do I fucking navigate
Yeah,
this?
I'm just trying to get back to myself.
And it's kind of,
so,
you feel hopeless.
Yeah, you do. And, I mean, it was a lot of points, you know, between 2021. I didn't know that I would be able to mentally get back to where, you know, the person that I am. And and to be honest with you, I've changed a lot, you know, through all that. And I'm not the person that I was before that. But that was one of the things. Like, but where I'm at, like, if you would have asked me, towards the end 2020, me being here mentally, I would be like, probably not. Like, because you got beat down so much,
dude,
that you just didn't see the light.
Yeah, I mean, I became somewhat of a hermit. I mean, I moved out here. I was ordering my food in every night. I'd go train. I'd hang out with some chicks here and there, or whatever. Just coping it with it. How I could, but I just still was like fucking lost, man. I felt like the brand was going to go downhill because like I wasn't myself anymore. I was like, dude, Joe, you're not Relentless Pursuit right now. Yeah. But how do you get back there? And it was just like this constant fucking battle. And of course I had family and friends checking in on me, but I mean, you're still just, I don't know, man. It was a really weird time. And then of course, I bring it up. I met Lydia and I was like, whoa. And it was really hard with her at first because of her, something about how she treated me and stuff and like our relationship made me recognize the mental health issue of things.
Right.
And made me want to get into therapy and made me like really, holy shit, I have anxiety. And I'd have some nights where I spiral out of control like I've talked about before. But she just was very supportive through it all. And I was like, man, now I actually understand. And, and of course you get somebody that's like, hey, if you just tell me like I'm here for you, like it's okay to fucking have a hard time sometimes, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, that's fucking cool.
Dude, a point I want to bring up real quick on that is that all three of us have that story about women. All three of us have, I have the same thing. Margaret's been with me for 9 out of the last 10 years. When I started my business, when I left school to do YouTube, she didn't run. She didn't even blink an eye.
Yeah.
When I started my business and left my serving job, she didn't run. She didn't blink an eye. We live together now. The last 2 years, there's been, the last 6 months have been very good for my business. But before that, it was very much your typical story of, 27 cents in my account, my girlfriend sending me money to get my account out of negative every other day while we're living together, while we have a dog together. I can't pay for my own dog's food, all that kind of stuff. And a woman, man, I've told her a million times, I was like, you are my secret weapon. Like, because I don't go out, I don't get in trouble, I don't spend money.
A lot of men are afraid to admit that.
No, for sure.
They don't want to put any like weight towards like,
well, that's what I'm saying. Look at the three women. Look at the three women right here, right? Like, there's a million different ways to say it. Drake is one of my favorite artists, and way back in the day when he had Kendrick Lamar on "Over My Dead Body," I don't know if you guys know that song, but anyways, I heard him talking about it one time. Don't. In that song, Kendrick Lamar says, "Women are the tastemakers for the music that we make."
Yeah,
and I heard him explaining that, and he's basically like, that women are the tastemakers in general. Like, whenever you're with somebody, like Lydia, for example, you said, I don't know why it made me realize the mental health because she showed you compassion. And she saw the pain that you were going through, and you didn't want to, give yourself that compassion to go to therapy and to help yourself. But she saw it, and she, and for me, Margaret has definitely done that. The times when you feel the absolute worst about yourself, like in my case, all the stuff I'm talking about is like not being able to provide. So I'm feeling really shitty about myself, and all that kind of stuff. And when she's just there loving you anyway, it's like, damn, all right. That's and then it's like, well, when I get the money, I'm gonna take care of your ass. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And I think it's also like, finding the right person. There's a very hyper masculine mindset nowadays too, is like, I think it's kind of like how that Andrew Tate guy is. He's probably preaching the things that I still haven't listened to him, but he's probably preaching the things that he's against what we're saying now. Like, a lot of guys don't want to put weight into to women being, a secret weapon to them. So they're like, you got to be strong. You got to do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, I'm not afraid to admit that my woman is a huge part of like how better I've been. And like with the headquarters, at first I was going to split this space with somebody else and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And I was like, I really want to do this. And things are kind of spinning in the mud and I just don't know if I can afford it. And it's just going to it's going to take every penny I have. I'm going to have to put everything into it. And she was just like, Joe, you're going to do it. I believe in you. You're going to do this shit. And I was like, fuck. And we talked about it last night.
Absolutely.
Like, I go in on myself sometimes, man. Yeah. And I have some hard days.
Dude, same.
But she's always there to be like, Joe, I just want you to know how proud I am of you. Like, you're crushing it. And I'm like, dude, that is a fucking secret weapon, man, because that just lifts me right back up to where I need to be.
She tells me all the time I'm way too hard on myself. And I could tell myself that, but whenever she's like, I'll explain some situation. I'll go, this, and then this. She's like, you're being way too hard on yourself. And I'm like, all right, bring it down.
It's a way they can break it down for you. Kind of like to make you kind of like level out. Because Coda does it for me all the time. Yeah. Because like running a business, you stress out all the time. And so the way that they can just break down the details and just like, just relax. Like you said, look at everything you've done. Just focus. Like,
look at what you've overcome.
It's just different.
And it's like, damn, you know what? You're right.
One of the cool stories about Coda, and this was at the beginning of our relationship, and this is when I was like, oh, she's different. So this was beginning of 2021, and my mom just got put in the hospital, and this was after everything was going on, and she was put in the hospital, and you know she's there, and so I'm with her all night, and so Coda at the time she was in Idaho, and I'm sitting in the hospital, and so like when they have mental health patients, you know, in hospitals, like it's basically just a blank room with a bed. So you got one chair while I'm sitting, and my mom's there. So, and I'm sitting there, and then the nurse walks in, and she hands me a Diet Dr. Pepper, and I think like I don't know, a Reese cup or something, and she was like, "It's from Dakota." And I was like, what? I just looked at her crazy, like, what? Because it's like in the middle of the night. And like I said, Coda's in Iowa. And like,
she made that happen.
Yeah. And so she called, because she used to work at the hospital, and she called the hospital and had the nurse bring. And I was like, dude, that's so dope. That's so dope.
Cool. It's such a small gesture, yet it means
it goes so much at that moment. Because like, you know, it's just me right there. I'm in there with my thoughts, and you know, my mom's asleep, and I'm just, you know, it's the middle of the night. I am thirsty, I am hungry, but I don't want to leave in case something happens, whatever. And then this nurse just walks in, and it was like she was there, but she wasn't there, you know, Dakota. So it was one of those moments. I was like, damn, that's I don't think anybody's ever did anything like that.
That's super cool, man.
It was just a cool moment, you know. So yeah.
Don't ever accuse this podcast of not loving women.
Absolutely not.
Well, it's another example. I'm going to boast of myself a little bit, but you know, I'm not much into, you know, I think time and attention and just like the love you show somebody is the most valuable material. People tend to do material things for their significant other. They're like, hey, I'm going to buy them all this shit, but I'm not going to build like a deep connection with them and this and that. And so that's how a lot of people
fuck up
do their relationship, you know. To me, it's much deeper than that. It's about going to a cabin and doing mushrooms together and like just laughing,
just chilling,
building the best friendship, you know. And but you know, I saw Lydia just work her ass off to get her real estate license, you know, and she failed a couple times, and she was just really
big congratulations on that. That's a bitch.
Yeah, and dude, I saw her, man. She like, I remember her failing one, and she's just like so bummed and upset, and I fucking hated it for her because I saw her studying, saw her working,
right?
And of course, I feel guilty, and I'm like, man, am I breaking her attention because we're together all the time, and of course, I'm always running my mouth and shit. And I'm like, fuck, man, I hope I didn't fuck her up, you know. But it wasn't me. But anyways, just she had to get there. And so she finally passed it, and she was so stoked. And she had mentioned months ago this like pad thing. And it's not a cheap thing, but it helps you track all your stuff. It's like a notepad, but it's electronic.
Right.
And man, it was just so cool. And I was like, I got it shipped to the house, and I gave it to her. I was like, hey, you know, congratulations on
Remarkable.
Remarkable.
Me and Cody got one.
Yeah, so I was like, hey, babe, open this up. I just want to congratulate you on passing your test. You're going to need this to organize all your stuff. And dude, she opened it up, and she just started crying. She's like, I've never had somebody that was just so thoughtful, you know. But
that's cool. I got Coda one for her birthday.
Yeah, man, and just like, but you know, stuff like that, man, goes a long way, man. Showing the other people.
Well, and those people, like talking about the three women here specifically, but whenever you can do something like that for them after they've done stuff like that for you, it's like the best, bro. It's like Margaret's, you know, she wants to be an interior designer now, you know, and like she had her associate's degree for a while and like kind of kept the same job. And so this is way before the design stuff, but long story short, kind of pushed her to, hey, you have this degree, go get a job. She got a better job because of that. And then I was able to get her hooked up with one of my clients' wives who was doing interior design, and now she went for that, and she absolutely loves it. And it's been awesome to support her. And, you know, it's taken her a while to kind of find what she's passionate about. But now that she's like really loving that, it's so cool to be on the other foot and be like, to be able to do that for her. Cause it's like, damn, she did that for me forever, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. And I don't know, man, it's cool just watching how things go. I mean, we'll move forward, but I will say, and it's kind of crazy. One thing that I've noticed with her and I is that we're going through crazy, like professional transitions together. She's, you know, getting your license is one thing, but starting to make sales on houses and shit is a whole nother ball game.
Yep.
And, you know, I'm also, hey, let's open this headquarters. So we're doing these things at the same time. So financially, it's just, you know, we're good, but it's not like not as much freedom because I've got all
Absolutely.
my eggs in this basket. She's, still working her job, but trying to get into that and investing into that. And it's just,
But that's cool too, because like y'all growing. Because like me and Code, I feel like we're in that, in that space too. There's a lot of things that I want to do business wise and venture out and stuff like that. And she started going back to the hospital and working a little bit. So we're in that space too. But it's cool because you're building it together.
that's what I told her. That's what I told her because she got down about that. And I'm like, babe, but listen, we're doing this shit together, and we're going to fucking succeed. And we've taken a leap of faith. We're saying fuck the whole corporate world thing. Like, that's where she's at, and me, I don't know. I've been saying that for a long time. So, but we're doing our own thing, and it's going to fucking pay off. We just got to keep charging forward, and we got each other to lean on through it.
Exactly.
And it's pretty cool because we understand. That transition. So it's been a really cool thing, I don't know. I'm embracing it because I know it's just the season. And then we're going to be crushing it, So
I think bringing like two people that bring something they've built together or built separately together is, that's cool too. But I think there's definitely something to be said from starting, building something, growing something together from the ground
That's
up.
huge.
Yeah.
Yep. And she contributes so much to this too. But God, what else did I want to touch on? What time? Where are we at anyways?
3 hours.
The overall
We're at like 3 hours, but
the overall recording's at like 2:15, but the podcast we're probably at like an hour 45 right now.
cool. Well, I think that'll be a good stopping point too,
Yeah,
just
for
because,
sure.
man, we could talk all day. I've had a blast having Ruck. I mean, it's been really cool.
I have a feeling he'll be back.
Oh,
100%.
without a doubt.
Yeah.
Little preview. We are going to do something with our women here.
Yeah.
We got a cool episode. I'll just go ahead and say it. It's going to be called Differences because you're married and it's an interracial relationship.
Yeah.
Me and my girl, different spiritual beliefs. We both dealt with bullshit on both ends.
Yeah.
So we just want to talk to people about that and like open minds and show people how to cope with those differences moving forward in life when everybody else is kind of coming at them. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
That'd be dope.
Yeah, but you'll be on here. We'll be talking about all kinds of shit. So looking forward to it, man. But hell yeah, I just want to say thank you.
It, man.
Hell yeah, man.
This was a blast. Like seriously, this was so much fun.
I appreciate you big time,
We
bro.
could have talked all day, like literally.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah. Y'all sign off, give him your stuff, and then we'll be out of here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Ruck Nutrition, Charles Rucker. Instagram, I am Charles Rucker. Instagram, Ruck Nutrition. Facebook, Charles Rucker. I don't even know what my TikTok is. I can't give you that.
Same.
Yeah. Twitter is Rucker1021. YouTube, Charles Rucker. Holla at me.
Yep. And Joe Adams, Relentless Pursuit. Venmo, no, I'm just kidding. Instagram is TN_SweetP_. For the brand, it's Relentless_Pursuit, Relentless Pursuit _HQ, RelentlessPursuitLifestyle.com. And same thing with TikTok. I have no idea, but click on the link in the bio on RP.
We'll
it is there.
TikTok, we'll put it at the bottom.
Hell yeah. But thank y'all for being here. Until next time.
See y'all.
Nice.
Dude, solid.
That was fun.
That was so much fun.
That was so smooth, so good.
It was smooth. We talked about fucking everything.